All right. We are talking about activism in Disney Star Wars. Now, I would like to acknowledge that I'm not going to call it Star Wars anymore. That is dead naming it. It no longer exists. It died when George Lucas sold it to Disney. Little did we know how much damage a company can do to an intellectual property that we all loved and adored as children, that defined a lot of our nerddom throughout the years. It was our Beatles, Star Wars, and Disney has slowly and methodically murdered it through activism, including, but not limited to, canceling the EU, getting rid of LucasArts, and announcing that the Force was female, which is such an idiotic thing to do when you can just not say anything. And that was Kathleen Kennedy keeping a promise. Yes, Kathleen Kennedy was handpicked by George Lucas, and she is a Judas. She is absolutely a Judas. So we heard the Force is female. Then they started instituting their activism through the Lucasfilm Story Group and their marketing department. While Lucasfilm did not, or Disney did not develop fan baiting marketing, they perfected it and made an enemy out of half of their fandom, which is now most of their fandom. Taking what Ghostbusters 2016 started and absolutely running with it. Poisoning creative decisions. How could you not put Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together? How could you make Han Solo a bad father who walks into a lightsaber? How can you make Han Solo's son an idiot? How can you kill and make Princess Leia an idiot? How do you make Luke Skywalker a sad old man? These are activist decisions that poison creativity. These are not subversions of expectations. These are diminishing the classic characters to try to prop up your new characters, something you didn't need to do. We were interested when Disney purchased Star Wars. We thought, hey, it's a pretty good idea. Kathleen Kennedy sounds good. She's got a good pedigree. 10 years later, what have we got? Star Wars has an expiration date, and now it is simply a category on a diminishing streaming service that has lost millions of subscribers and billions of dollars to the tune of $4 billion. I would say that's not a success. Diminishing returns in the movies to the point where we haven't seen a Star Wars movie since the fall of Skywalker or Rise of Palpatine, whatever you want to call it. And their most recent installment, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery, is the biggest flop in the company's history, all overseen by the criminal Kathleen Kennedy. Bad Robot, who was in the employ of Lucasfilm while our country was burning during the Summer of Love, decided to come out with this. And I will present it to you. This is via Bounding in the Comics. This is one of the worst crimes. Absolutely worst crimes. Let me see here. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this. I'm known for my preparation, ladies and gentlemen. Here are my extensive notes, by the way. And yes, it does say shit's fucked up on this top. And it says, enough is enough. Enough police brutality. Enough outside privileged. Enough polite conversation. Enough white comfort. Who in the hell says that? Who's selling movies? Could you imagine a hot dog salesman saying that? Star Wars is what brought us together. Fandom is what brought us together, despite what our political differences were. As you may know, I owned a comic shop for 10 years in San Francisco. My one rule, well, two rules: you can't use the bathroom and no politics. And people who are on the right and the left sat there and laughed and had a good time because they were talking about the mutual things they loved, like Star Wars. And this divides not only fandom, the country. While the country was burning, asshole Jar Jar Abrams decides to come out and divide the country more, fan the flames of division. And it's a disgusting act. We have more. We have so much more. I'm not going to be able to get to all of it now, not necessarily in this order. We also have Rewriting Ripley. Rewriting Ripley is a blog on Medium, which most people wouldn't have noticed if Pablo Hidalgo, a member of Lucasfilm, a Lucasfilm executive, decided to signal boost them This article, which we won't go over, I'll just summarize it for you. It was about our good friend Ryan Kinnell, Esquire, who was on this very trial a couple of weeks ago. And oh, whoops, did I share? There we go. And they wrote this in plain sight. Sorry, I shared the wrong one. Damn it, I boomered it. They tried to present our good friend Ryan Kinnell as this innocent little lad that we lured down the alt-right pipeline. And we are using Star Wars to fan the flames of hate. And we are taking our orders from the ghost of Rush Limbaugh somehow and Steve Bannon. In plain sight, how white supremacy, misogyny, and hate targeted the Star Wars sequel trilogy and won. Now, the authors of this article, one of them had an affiliation to Star Wars. And again, it was signal boost by members of Lucasfilm. And it goes down a bit. It just hits some, it says hate right there. And it goes on to say that the Ryan was this innocent lad that we all radicalized. And we're doing it to what end? I'm not sure. Their point of view is white supremacy. This is how activism poisons fandom. Sure, science fiction has always had allegorical morality tales. That is not political. That's a morality tale. It's good and bad, but we don't know what good, or Hollywood doesn't know what good and bad is anymore. Being heroic, being masculine is bad. It's evil. That's why you come out and say the Force is female and all of a sudden piss off, well, a lot of dudes and a lot of women. That's not really how you sell a product. I go to Data Racer. Let's go to Data Racer's tweet, which shows Pablo Hidalgo. Pablo, good friend Data Racer, by the way. Following and signal boosting Rewriting Ripley, which was an assault on the fandom. And he says, Lucasfilm executive Pablo Hidalgo started following Rewriting Ripley after she launched this mass flag attacks. Pablo has followed multiple SJWs trying to destroy the fandom menace. How much involvement does Lucasfilm have in these efforts, and silence their critics? Well, apparently it's a lot. It's quite a bit. They have developed a thing that is now known as fan baiting. And this is a thing. And these instructions come straight from the top. Things get leaked to the Access media, including when The Last Jedi fervor was going on, that it was Russian bots, it was review bombers, it was racist fans, white supremacist fans, because we all know white supremacists are just huge fans of things like Star Trek and Star Wars. And they tried to paint paying customers, people who have loved George Lucas's creations their entire lives, as racists and Nazis. And I have never heard a single word from Disney defending the fans. Oh, we've had car videos defending Moses Ingram from Ewan McGregor, but we've never heard a peep. We never heard a peep defending Gina Carano. Gina Carano, who was fired over her political views, was fired from people within Lucasfilm who started a movement to get her fired over not... I know the post that everybody talks about, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. What really pissed Lucasfilm off was beep, bop, boop, refusing to put her pronouns in her bio. Now, you would say that's Gina being an activist. Yes. All I ask for is consistency. If Pedro Pascal can call half the country Nazis, I think it's okay for Gina Carano not to put pronouns in her bio. But we don't see a consistency because there isn't one. There is a political bias. There is political bigotry. And that's exactly what it is. And that's why they fired Gina Carano. I wish I could tell you more. But go to her interview. Remember, they wanted her to go through a 40-person Zoom meeting struggle session. That is activism. That is not creativity. It was not a smart move to take one of the more popular characters from your flagship show on your streaming service and fire her just when you got... That was the one thing that turned things around. Everybody hated Rise of Skywalker. Everybody did. But The Mandalorian saved Kathleen Kennedy's job, and she immediately screws it up within a couple of months. She doesn't deserve her position. She's only gotten it because of privilege, the privilege of working with Steven Spielberg, the privilege of knowing George Lucas. Based on her merit, based on what we've seen over the last 10 years, it's been an absolute disaster. But the activism doesn't end there. We go on to Kathleen Kennedy keeps her promise. The Force is female. And now it is. Now Star Wars is female. It's called Star Hers now. We just saw the Ahsoka trailer. There was a guy in it, but he's a bad guy. I wish I had a time to prepare the list of girl bosses that are in Disney Star Wars on D+. And notice, if Ahsoka is so popular, why the hell aren't they making a movie? Why are they dumping it on Disney+? Well, because we know it's going to be more of the same. She hired Leslie Headland, former Harvey Weinstein assistant Leslie Headland, who led the lambs to the slaughter, but somehow she has the right politics. She can keep her job when Gina Carano can't. She gets a whole series when her favorite Star Wars is all the Star Wars. All the Star Wars, which doesn't exist anymore because it's dead. I think that will be enough. I could go on. How many times we've been attacked as content creators. Fans have been attacked. We could go on with the diminishing returns. And while a lot of this is circumstantial, and I wish I could tell you so much more about what I actually know from inside the hive of scum and villainy that is Lucasfilm, the one thing I do know is that the farce is female, and Kathleen Kennedy needs to be fired.